This episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast is brought to you in part by No Judges Needed BJJ Apparel and Lavender Lane CBD products. You can use the promo code JJT for 20% off your first order at No Judges Needed, and the code JJTimes20, all uppercase. Last two items are numerical for 20% off your first order of CBD products. Thank you very much for sticking with us. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast. I am your host, Kevin Bradley, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Kevin Gallagher, and I fucked that up for the first time in a very long time. And before we introduced our fan favorite returning guest to discuss probably nothing controversial at all, it'll probably be a really light episode. I can't imagine anything really big happened since the last time she's been here. I wanted to briefly throw it over to our sponsors, No Judges Needed. Now, you will often catch me rocking this insanely cool, dapper, and comfortable sweatshirt. If you wanted one of your own, but wanted to save a little bit of money on the side in the process of getting it, we're here to help you out. You can use the code JJT at checkout at www.nojudgesneeded.com to get 20% off, and you'll let them know that we sent you. It'll help us out, it'll help you out. Everybody helping everybody. People help the people. Once again, Fred Claus is an underrated Christmas movie. I will say that until the day I die. And that is it for advertising. Thanks again to No Judges Needed.
Great company. Go spend your money
until we're 6 feet under, man. We love you, Troy. All right. Now that that's out of the way, and I've knocked into my desk, shaking the world around me, let's get into the lovely woman that is wasting her time here at the Jiu-Jitsu Times podcast once again. Submission Underground's one and only matchmaker, the big boss of MMA everywhere, Heather Standing. Heather, thank you so much for coming back.
Thank you.
Now, what's happened? I've been asleep for a few weeks, so
yeah, I haven't heard anything about. Didn't you have a show this weekend? Something happened.
Yeah, I assume it was just like everything went without a hitch.
If you've been asleep for a few weeks, you've missed a few shows. I think he's had me running ragged, but it's funny because we actually have 6 weeks until this next show, and I'm so thankful for it. It feels like a vacation. It's like this last show was only 3 weeks apart, but yeah, we had a show. Some people might call it a shit show on Sunday, but we call it, great press. So it was good. It was actually, what's funny is it was such a great card up until the main event, and it's divided on whether or not that ruined the whole night, but we're gonna run it back anyway. So
I mean, I was personally a big fan of the Boogie Kevin Casey match. I thought that was really
a good match too. I thought that was great.
Both of those guys,
we didn't ask for that. They asked for it.
Yeah, that was the crazy thing. We talked with Kev ahead of his appearance, and he was all about just like, Boogie's a real game guy. I'm a game guy. Let's do it. And it felt like a really organic way for those two to meet up. But just in case a few of our listeners for some reason are unaware, at Submission Underground 16 main event, Craig Jones defending his Submission Underground title against Mason, went into overtime, and that is where things started to go a little bit nutty. Mason gets Craig in a body triangle. Craig makes a sound like a grunt. The ref takes it to be a verbal tap, ends the match. Mason wins the belt. And a lot of people are up in arms about it. So could you talk to us a bit about your life since that? What you've been dealing with?
Well, there was two grunts. And that's been a very decisive issue with that. But
two distinct
and there was two grunts and there was no title until Sunday. And Chael put this belt on the line, and here we are. But I mean, poor Craig's been with us like 9 times now, and this is the first time there's been a belt, and it gets given to the other guy. So it's great.
Speaking of, happy birthday, Mr. Jones.
Happy birthday, Craig Jones. Not how he thought this week would go, I'm sure. So we had the same ref that we've had since Submission Underground 1. We've had him every single show. And he's had some bad nights that I've experienced, everyone's experienced. He made a call So what happened was Mason Fowler. Oh, I almost said Flower, and he got so mad that Shale said that. Mason Fowler got Craig Jones in a neck crank, basically.
Yeah,
and
triangle neck crank.
Yeah, and as Jones would tell it, he was fine. And he said that Mason's legs were so wrapped around his stomach that so tightly. He admitted publicly, so I can say it, but he said he was farting the whole match. And he said that he had some stomach issues going on. And he said, so it was like all this air that was in my stomach came out. And he's like, you know, that's where the grunting came from. It obviously wasn't a comfortable position. So where I was sitting, they had a VIP section for me. This is the first time this has happened, but they had a section in the back, basically, where I was sitting, and I had a TV with no sound on it. Okay. And to my right, like 3 doors down, was Chael's office where he was doing his, stuff. And then I could see like just the side of the cage where I was sitting. And I was probably about 40 feet away from it. So, I mean, I could hear everything, but I couldn't like see it. And I was just watching it on TV. So with that said, I could hear the grunting from where I was sitting. And, as they call it, grunting, whatever they want to call it. I heard someone yell verbal tap. He verbally tapped. I did not assume it was Mason. In fact, I thought maybe there was someone that was like in the back that shouldn't have been out there, because we were trying to keep it quiet for pay-per-view. And so I actually got up to go see who it was, as I'm like, who's yelling that he verbally tapped? And the match continued, and I'm watching on TV, like, what's going on? And Craig grunts again, and I hear the ref go tap, and of course Craig immediately sits up and is like, what the fuck? So I talked to the ref immediately after, and I said, the people are going to want to know, like, why did you stop that match? And he says the first time that he grunted and Mason tried to say it was a verbal tap, he says he was in a rear naked choke. He said he can go out. He's at that level that, I mean, we're not reffing kids. He can go out. If he doesn't want to tap, that's on him. But he said that, when he was in the neck crank, he goes, I'm in a position where if he's grunting and he's making sounds that are in pain, and per our current rule set, if you are making involuntary noises that are in pain, and mind you, it did get louder, it did. He says, that's considered a verbal tap under our rule set. And he says, if I do not stop it, he could have snapped his neck. He goes, then we're going to have a documentary. Our show's over. We never have a show again. I'm the ref that ruined, the legend of Craig Jones. So I have to understand to a certain extent his position. I mean, no one wants to be a ref. It's a thankless position. But that's where the controversy lies. Now, I will say we have discussed, and obviously the entire world has discussed with us on what we need to change for future events. And it's very fun to get unsolicited advice.
Right.
Real quick, how much of that unsolicited advice came from the tri-state area? Just kind of specifically one state in the tri-state area.
Oh my God. I've gotten messages in every social media platform that we can have. People have tagged me, tagged Chael, obviously. And, Fire the Ref is like a national campaign right now against Submission Underground. And you know what? Somebody said it best yesterday, actually. I read on Instagram, and I actually screenshot and sent it to Chael. And he said, yep, exactly. Someone yesterday said, Craig has competed like 9 times for us now. Well, 10 times, I think, Sunday now. And he says, nobody was complaining about the rules until Craig lost. And I'm like, to an extent, it's like, that's true. I mean, Craig's asked for a longer time frame. He's asked for 10 minutes. Our matches used to be 8 minutes prior. And he's asked for 10, and other people on the card have asked for that as well. I mean, we are unique in the fact that our matches are only 5 minutes, and plus the EBI modified overtime. but Chael's not budging on it, and it's not my call. So Chael refuses. I mean, we have a very short time frame on UFC Fight Pass. We have about 2.5 hours, and if we moved it to 10-minute matches, it wouldn't even. We couldn't do it with 10 matches on the card for 10 minutes. So it just wouldn't compute. And that's
I got a few things I jotted down here to try
Yeah.
and play with that. And, just a few things that I took from watching the event. First of all, I think it's a great event. I really it's funny to me to watch because I will watch it, and a lot of it is due to the utter charisma that Chael brings to the table. It's just there's no one in the world that is Chael Sonnen. He just does such, and even when he says things that are wrong, you don't care because it's Chael. Because like watching some of the, and he gets caught up in the mix. I'm guilty of that myself too. I'll say things that I don't necessarily mean to say, but listening to him call these matches makes the match. And then when you start to talk about the 5-minute matches, I mean, you can say whatever you want to about that. Like, personally, from someone that watches a great deal of submission-only matches, I think it's maybe too short of a time for real grapplers to be able to get into the flow of things. In particular, if you look at the Craig Jones Mason Fowler match, like Mason Fowler was pretty much betting on overtime. He wasn't really pursuing any kind of, he didn't want any part of Craig's guard. Didn't it? So in that regard, I think that maybe a 10-minute match helps that. But if Mason is committed for that for 5 minutes, why wouldn't he be committed to that for 10 minutes? And now you're having, instead of having a boring 5-minute match, you have a boring 10-minute match. So I understand what Chael said. It's the one of the best parts about the event is this match is just fire off. And I'll be the first one to say I love jiu-jitsu, and I watch submission-only jiu-jitsu all the time. I get bored as hell watching a 10-minute submission-only match. When you have two guys that don't really want to engage, they're trying to feel each other out. So the point of this, and this is what I always say about any people that bitch about the rules, because there's tons of different rule sets. Like your job isn't to complain about the rules. Your job is to figure out how to win with the rules you're presented with.
Yes.
So if you only got a 5-minute match and you want to win in regulation, you better be pushing that pace and trying to score and trying to get submissions. And if it means you got to take a few more chances, then take a few more chances, open your game up and make it happen because you only got 5 minutes to do it. And then just like you see in the case of Craig Jones, no matter how good you are, when you get in there and you're in overtime, it's, you get somebody good like Mason Fowler on your back, it's a coin flip.
And I think that what you said also speaks to the athlete's sort of unspoken role in stress testing what works and what doesn't. Like just case in point, look at Craig's last loss to Wagner. That match was such a clusterfuck and went so long that they changed a lot of the rules in EBI because of that match. And so like going forward, things are made better because you have guys that are either just have a certain type of match that goes a certain type of way, or guys that are actively trying to find the ways to succeed and sort of not game the system. Like, I'm not saying Mason's not like a phenomenal grappler that's going out there to win, but it's clear he had a game plan and it worked within the rule set, and he was banking on overtime. And, Boogie does a lot of the same stuff, so he's not the first guy to capitalize on EBI alternate overtime rules. So I feel bad that he's getting the shit in addition to you guys. Too,
Kev, like anytime there's anytime there's rules involved, there's always going to be people that can strategize according to those rules and therefore game the system in one way or another. And that's just, that's just being a competitor. So anyone can complain and whine about that. But if you tell me, hey, I can win in overtime by holding on to somebody and I still get my hand up and I get that 10 grand. Is it not the most exciting manner to win? Maybe not, but then I still get that 10 grand. Hell yeah. Until you change the rules, I'm here to win. That's the way it goes.
And that's what we found out at Submission Underground 11 with the tag team jiu-jitsu. We thought we had a good rule set. And then Vinny and Kyle came in and said, hey, it's going to be boring as hell, but we're walking home with that 25K. And as angry as I am about it, I get it. It's like, okay, I mean, there's strategy, right? And you might not like it, but that's what it is. And to your point, Kevin, Chael says it all the time. He's like, 5 minutes keeps it exciting. You know, what's 10 minutes going to do? I mean, we've talked about doing 10-minute matches just for the main event or just for the main card. But then it also comes into a problem with me as a matchmaker, like, hey, can I get on the main card? I really need 10 minutes if I'm going against this guy or whatever. And, you know, something that Chael and I discussed this week was, even if we did change the rule set, now we will change it, I think, to say you have to like say tap. So, because we, you know, I think we have to change that, and that's fine. That's an EBI thing anyway. But we did discuss this week that if we were to change the rules in any capacity, I mean, if we did decide to do that, we can't do it now. We can't all of a sudden say, hey, our guy lost, and so now we're going to change all these rules for the rematch. It just doesn't, that's not right. It's not fair to, you know, I've always hated rematches because it's usually the loser that asks for it. And it's just kind of like, you just want your own redemption. And, you know, I mean, you didn't hear Mason Fowler didn't ask for the rematch, you know? You know what I mean? It's like the winner does not, I mean, Craig's never asked for a rematch with Rumble Johnson or any of those, you know, any of those guys, you know? He's like, I won. But when there's controversy and the fans demand it and like what happened, I'm glad that Mason was open to it and he understood. And he did reference the fact that it's because of Craig that he was even in the tournament. Quite frankly, he had asked me to be in the tournament and I had mentioned his name to Craig, and Craig was like, that's a must that he's in that tournament that we did because of their ADCC match. You know, he's like, I mean, he deserves that.
That's another thing that people kind of talk about, people kind of forget. I mean, Mason Fowler might not be that big of a name on the submission only grappling circuit.
Yeah.
But Mason Fowler is an incredible grappler. I mean, he's been around for a long time, and he's a very tough, high level grappler that has succeeded very well in the ADCC rule set. And the people are like, oh, Mason Fowler, who's this guy? I'm like, well, Mason Fowler, do your homework.
He's a brown belt, so people are bitching about that.
Yeah, but he's still pretty good at jiu-jitsu. To talk a little bit about the verbal tap and what happened in the controversial instance of the Craig Jones match. You know, again, rules are rules. And I watched the match too. Personally, I watched the match the first time I saw a clip of it without the volume on. And when I didn't really understand what was going on, I've reffed quite a few matches in my time before. And I've been a referee for a while. It's you know, it's again, a thankless freaking job. It's horrible.
It sucks. It
sucks so bad.
Subjective, you know.
Everybody hates you no matter what you do.
Yeah, no matter what. Yeah.
No matter what you do. So the idea is, when I watched the match, I personally thought that I saw Craig reaching for the hand in a motion that looked similar to a tapping motion to me.
Yes.
Now, again, it's Craig Jones, and I feel like maybe you give him the benefit of the doubt, but I'm not the guy calling the match. I'm not the guy standing. I'm not the guy looking at Craig Jones' neck crank to the side. And again, thinking about, I don't want to kill Craig Jones. Just, you know, he's tough, but hey, we got to call this thing. So when I saw that, I thought maybe, okay, cool. If he's saying he tapped, there's a gray area there, but I'm not gonna say anything, because I've ref plenty of matches where I've seen guys wiggle their hands and say they haven't tapped. They call it the Brazilian tap, because the Brazilians will be like, oh, and then they're like, I didn't tap. It's like, no, dude, you totally motion towards your opponent with a tapping motion. If you're grabbing the arm, you grab the arm and you pull it down. You don't wave your hand.
Yeah.
Now, when we talk about, so keeping that in mind, when we start to talk about the verbal tap, when I watched it again earlier today with the volume and with everything was going on, and like the first time I heard the referee say verbal tap, and again, if it wasn't the referee, whoever said it, in my mind, it was Mason that said it. I didn't really see anything, but in my mind, I'm thinking, okay, like this is a warning to you, Craig Jones. Right. You know, you know. Like, I thought maybe the referee had said it in a manner of saying, watch the verbal tap. Is that a verbal tap type situation?
Yeah.
Like, that's awareness enough for you to now realize, okay, I need to keep my mouth shut and not wince or appear to be in pain of any kind.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure that there's a rule meeting. And I'm sure that in the rule meeting,
you know, we've had a few shows during COVID that we did not do a rules meeting, but the last two events we did. And to your point earlier, Chael actually, and I haven't ran the replay back, but he said, and a few other people said that during the pay-per-view, Chael even thought that it was an actual tap. You know, he's like, he actually thought that's what the stoppage was because he had seen like what you saw as well.
Right.
You know, Craig has kind of, he's done an interview already this week where he said that that he kind of wonders if the ref wouldn't have stopped it if it wasn't for Mason saying verbally that it was, you know, a verbal tap, and maybe like the pressure from that. I don't agree with that, but you know, I get it. I get the frustration with it, and yeah. So,
well, I would also just briefly like to sort of dispel this notion that that Craig is your guy in the way that you're trying to protect him, because you straight up said on this show you're just looking to throw everything you can at Craig in the kitchen sink to see what.
It's boring to see someone win constantly.
Literally, like, yeah, I thought Vinny was going to do it. I really hope Wagner's going to do it. For the love of God, somebody tap.
Somebody do it. Yeah. Well, you know what's, this is so stupid, but like I literally wore on Sunday without even thinking about it. I wore leopard print pants, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're all for Craig."
Now we see.
I want Mason to win. You know.
That's funny.
You know,
because of that, I'm surprised that the conspiracy didn't bang the other way, where it's like you guys are working against Craig.
No, we love Craig, and you know, UFC Fight Pass loves Craig. I mean, you know, it's Craig is a nice version of Gordon Ryan. You know, he's very talented.
Kind of true.
Without
the yeah. Could you please just someone take his phone away from him?
But you know, on the MMA side of things, when someone's winning constantly, you know, you have like a love or a hate for them, right? And when it's someone with a loud mouth like Ronda Rousey was, or you know, Connor and stuff like that, you like really want them to lose, and you know, whatever, or you're like really on board as a fan. Well, with Craig, he's funny and he's nice and he's kind, but he's never just like talking crap, you know.
He's such a nice guy. He really is. And I think part of the fuck Craig Jones thing comes from everybody hates him because he's so nice. He's like, well, he goes after, he murders everybody, but he's just an asshole. I mean, he's just a nice person. You hate him. People hate him for it.
No, I mean, people love Craig, and he's such a nice guy. But and it was interesting to watch. I was telling him earlier, Kevin Bradley, it was interesting to watch the post-match interviews between Chael and Craig individually, as well as Chael and Mason, and getting their perspectives on it. You know, Mason has vocalized that he wants to go against, being an MMA fan, he wants to go against the MMA fighters that are the higher level jiu-jitsu and whatnot.
Right.
And that's actually something that Boogie asked for as well. Boogie likes to have the different style in the cage with him. But yeah, I mean, to see, you know, like you said, we have Mason Fowler, who is this high level grappler, and you have Craig, who, you know, sits down and is like, come here, you know. And so we have a lot of people that are like, oh, Mason's stalling and he's jumping in and out. We saw the same thing happen with the same style out of Austin Vanderford, for example. And like you said earlier, Boogie as well. I mean, one of the things that Craig has complained about for the last few shows, especially with Checo taking him to overtime and stuff like that, is that, you know, when Checo lost, he kind of celebrated the fact that he had taken Craig the farthest, you know, past Wagner, past Vinny, you know. And Craig's like, it's this game where people are now just playing defense to take me as far as they can into overtime. And so in saying that, as we saw with Mason on Sunday, he took Craig into overtime. And it was a unique situation, I think, for the ref, I think for us as the staff and fans, to see Craig in a position that was not, you know, good for him, so to speak. It's just unusual. It was an unusual position to see Craig in a potential, you know, dangerous spot.
What I'll say to that in terms of grapplers complaining that guys are trying to game the rules or game the system is like, that's not their problem. they're trying to win and they're trying to work towards their attributes. And, Mason Fowler's a wrestler. Mason Fowler isn't really that much of a submission guy. So Mason Fowler's game plan is going to be to try to pass Craig's guards. He's got a very much more traditional style jiu-jitsu regimen. It's Craig's responsibility to learn how to beat that and to work to beat that. And you can't smack your fist. I'm just being honest. I've written a few articles to this regard because one of the things I hate the most is when I see people whining and complaining about, well, IBJJF is this and this, or submission only is this and this. Is well, like they're not going to change. You should, if you want to win there, figure out how to win there. Don't complain and whine about the rules. Go out there and take advantage of it.
Yeah. But I'm very thankful for this podcast because I cannot tell you all week it's been building up of I just want to respond to everybody with one statement, and just be like, it's okay,
No, and I've seen, I watched twice. I watched it on Facebook, and then I watched it again in real time with the volume, and I watched most of the event today, this afternoon, and it was a good event. It really was a good event. You guys put on a good show. I don't care. In my opinion, it's one of the better. I still would like to see points, but that's just me. I don't care. I'm not here to have that debate.
I've never been told that.
I'm not here to have that debate. It's a submission only tournament. I get that.
That is literally the first time that someone has said that to me.
I'm thinking about a format that is user friendly to not just jiu-jitsu people, but a crossover format, because that's what I think the sport really needs.
Don't ever mention points to Chael. Good Lord.
But what I appreciate is what you guys put on in that ability to cross over. I think that it's something you got a good system. The 5-minute matches don't draw on. Even people that don't get what's going on, they love Chael. Chael's awesome. They love some
guys said this is like watching fights and having a podcast at the same time. I love it, and I'm like,
great. It's
okay.
But now he's going to pass the guard, and this is just looking great. Craig, we've never seen him like this.
He's special
before.
He really is.
Everyone's like, Chael's a color commentary. I'm like,
but
this guillotine he's setting up right here. I once killed a wolf with a guillotine, and that happened.
But how does Kevin Lee fit into this?
Next story. Moving right along. But I'll tell you this from my interpretations. I went into it trying to find something to say, wow, that was just horrible. You guys blew it. I wanted to find ammunition to back up people's claims. And I saw two different instances. I'm sorry, Craig, and I'm sorry the rest of the grappling world, where Craig
careful
emotion towards a tap. What do you want to believe it or not? It's Craig Jones, and maybe there's some gray area. Maybe the referee could have given an exemption to the fact that it was Craig Jones, and there's a levity to this match that's involved, and blah 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 blah. But that's the rules. The rule is you're not supposed to verbally tap. You're not supposed to make any signs of discomfort, scream and moan and whatever. The ref was right there on top of it. Yeah, Mason Fowler might have prompted it, but the rules are the rules. And what I saw there was a referee that was playing by the rules and doing things by the books. And you can debate it. You can argue about it. You can say Craig was robbed. Craig was robbed. I don't think any of that happened, just from what I saw.
Are you sad? Lonely? Scared? Do your friends point and laugh at how bad your outside heel hooks are? Have you given up hope? Well, chin up, comrade! BJJ black belt and purveyor of fine coffee, Josh STARLORD LeDuc is here to change your life. Buy his new DVD, Quantum Braking Mechanics, with the link in the description to gain all the secrets of foot mangling and knee wrecking to destroy all who stand in your way. Now, Josh doesn't know we're sharing this, so act fast before he finds out and unmakes us with the power of his mind. Shit, that's him. Oh, he's pissed. Anyway, I gotta go, but click the link and always heel hook responsibly.
I think people are, for the most part, satisfied with the fact that we have an immediate rematch coming up. That was the first thing I asked Mason. I said, "Are you available August 30th?" Because that's what we're doing. And he said, I'll talk to you tomorrow. And then he issued a statement, which we really appreciate, because he needed to say something. But oh yes, it's my pretty poster I put out. We had to immediately promote it. I'm working on the next. I'm doing 2 posters for the event, just because obviously people want to know what the rest of the main card is, and we just got it finalized yesterday. But yeah, it's it was interesting. I was telling Kevin Bradley earlier with having Gordon Ryan weigh in, having Eddie Bravo weigh in, Joe Rogan weighed in, Big John McCarthy, and they all were like, it was a bad call, whatever. And, a lot of that's based off of not realizing what our current rule set is and assuming that it's strictly EBI or whatever, where they have to say tap in order to have the verbal tap or whatever. But we're going to run it back. It's the trilogy match for them, as it says there. Jones versus Fowler 3. Someone said, shouldn't it be Fowler versus Jones? I'm like, I mean, are we really doing that?
Everybody wants to be a critic. If you want to find things to complain about.
Sorry, go on. No.
When I was first starting out with Submission Underground, and I run all the media, for it, and I was like, I just felt like I had to respond to everybody. I'm like, you have to talk to the people, customer service. And now I'm just like, it's like, I don't have time. My mental peace does not have time for this.
Yeah, well, take the page from Chael. They're going to love you or they're going to hate you, but they're still going to watch you.
Exactly.
So who cares? Who cares what the critics
all press is good press. Man. Controversy sells.
Is Fight Pass still paying you? Then you're doing a good job. So keep it up.
Right.
They're the ones that pay your bills.
Now, something I was curious about, has Craig, before the stream, you said he was very humble right after the fact, very accepting. Like, he was briefly annoyed, but, he's very quick to just move on. Have either of them made any requests for a different ref? I know that's been a big thing that other people in their orbits have been calling for, but
that's funny that you say that. Yeah, no, actually. In fact, the interview that Craig did, I think it was yesterday. I'm not sure. It was one of these days this week, but someone specifically was like, "Oh, fire that ref," blah blah, and he didn't even concur with that. He literally just said, the only thing that I feel basically might have been different was that if Mason had yelled out verbal tap, he kind of felt like maybe the ref might have been influenced by that, with the second time that he grunted.
Yeah.
But no, Craig's never had a problem with the ref, to my knowledge, until Sunday. I mean,
not even during the tag team. I know Nikki was more the guy that had the problem with him.
Craig was not there for the tag team, Kevin.
Oh right, yeah, he was getting lunch.
He showed up and stood in the cage. No. To be fair, Craig told me that he was not feeling well a couple days prior. But he says, "I'll show up," and he did do that. He showed up. I just was like, really? Not at any point did you want to play? Okay. That's all right. But no. And Mason hasn't either. I mean, neither one of them have actually specifically complained to me or publicly, to my knowledge, about the ref. And the ref himself, we've had several conversations. I mean, I've known him for, 10 plus years at this point. And so, and he's, more or less a MMA ref. That's been where his primary, he's worked in the, the UFC in several shows or whatever, and judge and whatnot too. But, you can't always heed to the audience, right? I mean, if the audience had it their way, we would have John Jones back, and we would have, not Chael. We'd have somebody else, sitting there that was way more, knowledgeable on jiu-jitsu, because we don't even think that Chael follows grappling. That's been a fun statement. I'm like, well, I do. I have to. So, but it's been interesting. I mean, I had a guy message me and say, "I told you so," and I'm like, okay, and just say, "Oh, I guess no one's going to want to be on the next card." I'm like, it's been very, the feedback has been interesting. But people do seem content with the fact that we're doing the rematch. Even Gordon commented and was happy that Mason made the statement that he did about how he's happy to give Jones the rematch, considering that he also gave him the opportunity to even, with the ADCC thing. So
it's one of them things where I'm a bit baffled. Like, you guys have an event. Like, I would die to be on Fight Pass. You know what I mean? And, I don't think there's anything.
Old school.
I know. I don't think that there's any platform bigger for a professional grappler on the circuit than Fight Pass, and there's only a few things on there. You've got Polaris, you've got EBI, we got you guys. That stage, there was a few of them, but not a whole lot, right?
Yeah.
That stage, in my opinion, is bigger than Flow Grappling because it incorporates the general public. We're not talking about just dudes that do jiu-jitsu that watch a thing, which is kind of cool. But like the idea of crossing over into the mainstream is every grappler's dream. That's what we're trying to do here.
That's what we're trying to do. Yeah.
So to hear people gripe and complain about, like Kale doesn't really know grappling, so this is just stupid. So I'm just going to whine and say I don't want to do it.
He's a black belt, but he learned nothing.
Right, exactly. Olympic wrestler. He never fought the UFC. Never do a thing about grappling in his life.
Never. Yeah.
Whatever. To hear people complain about everything that's involved with it instead of supporting you guys and wanting to be on the show, and therefore like a 5-minute grappling match submission only when you're going to go to overtime, it could be such a fun thing. And I see these younger guys that are just happy for the opportunity to come on. Yes. Blow it out.
Our undercard is more fun sometimes to watch.
And again, you still see guys that are gaming the system. But in my opinion, if you had grapplers at the next level that were committed to the idea of, maybe it's a little untraditional, but you get yourself prepared for a 5-minute submission only match, you could have a lot of fun with that. You could really open it up and shoot and go for submissions and blow it out and try your best to try to win in that regard. But instead they want to complain about it and pick it apart. And so unfortunately, their opportunity to shine on Fight Pass in front of a big market, same thing that UFC comes on, is squandered because they want to whine about it. It's upsetting to me. So they can be on, Flow Grappling. And
I appreciate you saying that. That's something that, when I have people that are complaining to me, Chael, is like, we're on Fight Pass. Like we are giving a stage that a lot of promotions don't have. I mean, obviously Flow Grappling is covering a ton of events, and the rumor on the street is that they tried to take this match from us. It didn't work, so that's cool. But it's nice to have UFC Fight Pass because we try to put in a lot of crossover MMA guys, that are also high level jiu-jitsu guys or whatever. And some of our best matches have been with the MMA guys being considered underdogs. I mean, case in point, sorry Boogie, but the Vanderford match. I mean, that was
huge.
Yeah.
That rippled out like in a big way for a lot of people, and Boogie took it very well. He was very much like, I mean, like and when I talked to him, he seemed like he had taken it pretty well. And I think that the community was just interested. The community was just fascinated by what had happened, because it's a sign that the game in MMA, like the jiu-jitsu game in MMA, is still there. Like a lot of people love to talk about that the pure jiu-jitsu guy is gone, and that's true, but the skills are still there. There's still a lot of high level talent. And Austin seems like an absolutely game competitor.
He was a collegiate wrestler, undefeated as a pro in MMA. I mean, he's training with Chael. I mean, he goes to ATT Portland, American Top Team Portland, and you got killers in there. I mean, you just everybody's there that's on the in Oregon is there that is high level like that, and he's just always been phenomenal to watch as a fighter. So I'm really happy to see him embrace the jiu-jitsu side as well. But and he's a purple belt He was actually a blue belt when he started with us, and I looked at his coach and I said, "Can you please promote this man so that I don't have to keep telling people he's a blue belt, for God's sake?" You know,
a lot of MMA guys are solid grapplers. Like, you know, we get Billy Quarantello, my one of my training bar UFC guy. Like, he's a hell of a grappler. He's just, the problem is because they're so in tune to their MMA fighting, particularly if they get into the UFC. And a lot of times the UFC won't let them do these smaller venues for whatever reason. They don't want to hurt.
Yeah.
But a lot of these UFC guys, particularly guys that maybe don't fight anymore, are still very high-level grapplers. It's just a matter of, you know, changing their mindset to more submission.
I mean, technically, also, a lot of times places they train only really focus on promoting if you spend time in the gi. And a lot of people in MMA don't really devote that time to the gi. And so the belt rank isn't a big part of, like, why they're there. Like, case in point, I think Demetrius Johnson's still a white belt. Like, and,
oh my God.
and no one, or he's either a white or a blue belt, but that is obviously, obviously that is some bullshit of the highest caliber right there. Just because look at the shit he's done in the cage, just submission wise and grappling wise. That it's incredible.
Sandbagging, yeah.
That flying, that's like that throw to armbar transition will live in infamy.
That was one of the slickest things I've ever seen in MMA. That was insane. That was insane. That was a great.
Yeah.
Well, we do have a lot of people that want us to. I mean, I get requests a lot to bring in more gi matches, and obviously women. I'm hoping eventually to do a women's tournament. I really found like the tournament that we did 2 shows ago. I thought that was a huge game changer for us. That was like, we brought in some really good talent. That was just a lot of fun. We're actually bringing Roberto Jimenez to this next show.
Oh wow, good move. He's awesome.
He's awesome. Yeah, I mean, God, he just got a win over Nicky Rodman.
I think he could give Craig a run for his money in a really legit.
Yeah, so that's funny that you said that, because it was my understanding when I first met him at the tournament that him and Craig were training partners. In fact, they rode to the event together and they were warming up together, and I was like, oh man.
All these guys. Like, I think Craig's a nomad. I don't even know where he lives. He's on every damn card.
Well, now he's training at he's a part of like Gordon and Gary's team, and that's why Team Henson. So that's been a lot of people saying, why don't you have Gordon fight Craig?
Oh my God. Can I go on record and say we're never gonna do that? Like, no. I get asked that so much, and I'm like, why? I'm like, they train together. Gordon said several times.
They're BFFs.
There's a lot of grapplers that they don't care. Like, you know, they might have warmed up with somebody 4 years ago, and there's another people that it's like, oh God, I trained with them when I was 10 years old, and so I won't go against, you know what I mean? It's frustrating.
Yeah, I feel when I see a lot of what's going on, it saddens me, because I feel like you guys are being victimized in the same way that the old like points grapplers versus submission only grapplers nonsense was, the old school Brazilian guys versus the new American grapplers kind of nonsense was a while ago. And it's kind of sad. You know, these submission only professional jiu-jitsu sites are always about bashing the new guy because, like, you guys just don't know what you're doing. You guys, instead of being inclusive, it's not a competition. We're trying to make the sport grow more. And you've got great grapplers too. You've got great events too. Why not let us have some of your events? Some of your guys. It's a different format. You don't think people are still going to go on Fight to Win and Kasai and Polaris?
Oh, of course. I hope they
these
do.
guys, they want to fight on everything. Yeah, it's sad.
Well, and we don't have anything exclusive with Craig. I mean, we're putting him in our cage every month, but we don't have anything exclusive with him. I mean, if he wants to go compete at, Third Coast or Kasai or whatever, more power to him, Don't get injured, please. But
these guys, these promoters, and bless their hearts. I don't like to get into this because I don't want to be the guy, and not that anyone gives a shit what happens anyway. But like, in my opinion, it's everything. All these different promotions are so territorial. And so it's set on saying we've got the best and everything else is just garbage. And, that's just stupid. You shouldn't go on that because 5-minute matches are dumb and the referees suck and Chael doesn't know what he's talking about. And you guys are getting
like MMA, though. MMA is the same way. It's very territorial. I mean, very, and I didn't expect that with jiu-jitsu. I don't know why, because it's still money and it's still talent. So, I mean, but yeah, it is disappointing. I mean, like you were saying, it's just very territorial on some things. But
I think it's just sad the high level talent out there, because I watch your shows and it's whatever. Just to be honest with you, there's a lot of opportunities for real legitimate talent that's training on the pro circuit that could do very well and have very exciting matches on that card. But for some reason, they don't want to. And I don't know the specifics. I don't know what the real reasons are. But it seems to me that there's this stigma that, that's just that stupid show that Chael does. That's not, that's just garbage. And it's sad because it doesn't have to be, because I really think it's a good show. I think you guys do. And I mean that. I really think you guys do a good job.
Thank you. Well, I mean, Chael's a black belt, like we said. I mean, it's not like he doesn't take jiu-jitsu seriously. He obviously has at some point. But he's a businessman and he's an entertainer. And, and a lot of people a lot of the jiu-jitsu purists, I guess is the word for it, they don't like us blending the MMA guys. They don't feel like they belong. People are going to be pissed as hell at me when I put the poster out for this next show, because I told you that Roberto's coming.
Yeah.
And now, mind you, well, I shouldn't say that. I'm like, Roberto is going against Jesse Taylor.
Oh,
and a lot of people
damn.
Do you like that? A lot of people cringe about that. They'll cringe about it because they don't like Jesse Taylor and he's this MMA guy. But he's been training down at SoCal, with the 10th Planet guys. He's a black belt, and he's been looking good. And I'm just like, here we are.
All of my issues with Jesse Taylor are probably about they're not even that he's an MMA guy. It's that he just keeps on getting these really great opportunities, and then in a John Jones like frequency keeps like rate of occurrence keeps on managing to fuck it up. Just with Ultimate Fighter 1, his second appearance, but I also am not one to bash the guy. Like, I'm always down for someone trying keep going at bat to try and fix things. And also the guy can fucking go. He is in a very real way, he could have been the it guy of the UFC. That's how good he was.
Yeah, he's a competitor, he's a gamer. I mean, if Roberto, pulls out the win on that, then we'll probably be looking at him for a future Craig or Mason opponent, however that turns out. But
that's good.
I mean, that'd be a rematch, as we saw Mason with Roberto, a couple of events ago. But
that kid is the future. Jimenez is. There's quite a few guys. I watched that. I watched that Dit King in Tampa about a month and a half ago, and the amount of young up and coming talent. Those guys are the future. There's some real legit talent out there.
Well, and we're trying to embrace those people as well. I mean, I'm kind of on a mission to find the next up and comers, and bringing back the Hunter Colvins and the Jordan Hawley and those guys, and just get that kind of younger talent in there and grow them in the organization. I mean, that's the hope. But we are also bringing back Boogie, and he's going against Brent Primus. They both hold wins. Yeah, they both hold wins over Jake Shields, as far as recent in our show. And I'm curious how that plays out, But again, Boogie's been asking for the MMA guys, the crossover guys like that. He wants to have a different style in the cage with him. And so that's why you keep seeing us put Boogie with these MMA guys. That's what he wants. And
he had a good match with Kevin Casey. Kevin Casey was so big. He was huge.
Oh my God.
He was so much bigger
you
than
want to talk about grunting. I mean, again, I'm in the back room. I'm watching on TV with no sound. And I look down for 2 seconds, and next thing I know, Boogie's doing the, the whatever. And Kevin's grunting for sure. And it's this frustrated, and I'm like, but you can't be mad at Boogie. He's the nicest guy ever,
Yeah, he's so good. What did I remember when I told you? He's so good from that armbar position. That's what he got Craig Shields with too.
Yeah,
he's really good from that position.
He's so lengthy and everything. It's just, I just enjoy him as a person. He's really easy to deal with. He's great, etc. And so it's
from the grain silo. From the grain silo. I always love that. That's my favorite.
I'm surprised there isn't more like grain silo merch out there.
What's funny is last night. So I think I still am the only. Well, no, they just got some polos, but for the longest time I was the only person that even had any Submission Underground gear at all because I just had it made. I was like, forget it. But I made a shirt last night that I'm gonna wear at the next event. It's like a Sug Island shirt, but I mean, we're in Oregon. There's no damn island, but it's so funny. There was this guy on Instagram. I feel horrible, but it was kind of fun for me. I enjoy it. But I posted a picture of the cage and I said, we had to crop the palm trees out. And this guy like legit thought that we were on an island. He goes, are you telling me it's going to be indoors? And I'm like, said, well, it's hot, safety first.
I mean, also there was that one infamous outdoor MMA event that like got rained on.
Well, I was talking about that the other day. We had one in Oregon, and it's it was in Eastern Oregon. I mean, in summertime, August, and all of a sudden, like middle of the show, these thunderclouds rolled in, and they had to stop it 3 times. People were ice skating in the cage. I mean, it was horrible, but. Yeah, I mean, you can't bank on that here in the Pacific Northwest. So,
man. All right. Yeah. Well, oh yeah. What was that, Kev?
No, I just made a moan. I think I don't know. It was that.
Was that tap?
I was Craig Jones. I was Craig Jones in it.
Too soon, Kevin. Too soon.
Too soon.
I mean, one of these days, once the world opens back up, I'll be at one of these things live, and I'll be able to plug in person for sure. But so this card, because we're kind of coming up on time. We went a little long last week, so we're trying to keep these a little bit shorter. And I know you're a very busy woman, so is there anything else you can tell us about the card as of right now before we got to call it?
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows the main event, obviously. We're bringing Amanda back and hoping that we have Jillian booked. She had to fall off last time. Her teammate got coronavirus and COVID, whatever, and like COVID if you're fancy, and the Rona, and so she had to pull, and so we booked her again. Obviously, that's pending. If she has a UFC fight come up, we'll have to get a replacement if that's the case. But we really want to see that match. And then, of course, we have Boogie versus Brent, Roberto versus Jesse Taylor, and the undercards starting to come together really good too. I kind of told everyone, I said, give me a week, like let me breathe for a second and we'll get you on there. So
well, I can fully tell you if you have a spot that needs filling. I happen to know a guy. He's a multi-time IBJJF champion. He's game as hell. He's game as hell.
I completely love the event. I think I kissed your ass long enough for an hour to at least warrant a thought, right? No, I'm
like, Joe, there's this guy. We kind of have to put him on the card.
I mean, there is a Tex Johnson rematch that is waiting to happen. My God,
they keep telling me to put him on the card too. Tex.
We have the guy. We have
Is it Ledoux? Josh Ledoux?
Yeah, he dropped off of Ledoux's card. Tex is a great guy, but he's a little. I don't know. There might have been some financial problems. I don't know. So I'm
Josh asked me to get him a match, and so I thought that was interesting that he fell off of his card. But
I'm speculating to that regard, so I don't know for sure. But Tex is Tex. We'll leave it at that. He's definitely a unique individual.
Okay, and you're owed a rematch with that, or a match that never happened?
I lost to Tex within 11 seconds in overtime in our submission only match. 10-minute match, by the way, too. But no big deal. No big deal.
That's all.
No. It was 11 seconds. 11 seconds of riding time. I lost to Boogie in overtime too, by the way. I lost to Boogie. I went to Boogie.
Heather, no big deal. So many rematches. There are so many rematches that can happen.
I hate rematches.
I would gladly go against anyone. I would gladly go against anyone you dug up for me.
The nice thing about jiu-jitsu is that the rematches aren't so bad, because like what we saw with Boogie and Kevin being a draw, and Chael's like fuck draws. I mean, I'm sorry, but yeah. And I'm like, But that was our first poster. It was like fuck ties, sub only or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, doing a rematch under a different rule set, I think that's cool. I think that's a strategic move. Why not? So yeah.
Yeah, I whatever. Long story short,
Long story short, you want on the card, Kevin.
Yeah, no.
Okay.
I love your event. I really think you guys do a great job. I really not just being completely honest with you. Not even.
And Heather, I am obligated to rep my guy whenever possible. Like, just blame me if not him.
We're not even allowing that. We're not allowing any corners, no warm-up partners. I mean, we're still locked down. We're strict.
That's good, because I would be an active detriment to Kev if I was in his corner. I'd be like, "You're doing great, hon."
Kevin's behind me with the little towel on his neck over my shoulders. I see that
Mickey hat, little tracksuit, just like I'm sort of a small Jewish guy now for some reason.
All right, enough about me, Kev. Let Heather go. She needs to get going. She's got important things to do.
Heather, thank you so much for coming back and dropping all the knowledge. Is there any socials you want to plug at this moment?
Submission Underground's easy to find on Instagram and Facebook, and we're on Twitter for whatever Twitter's worth nowadays. But we're there. We're there.
I still don't get Twitter. So many people tell me so much about how Twitter is running. It's the biggest platform. I'm like, I don't get it. I don't understand. I think
if you're a high level celebrity and you don't want to be on Instagram and stuff, but I mean, Instagram's kind of taken away Twitter, in my opinion.
I like Instagram more just because it's harder for me to see comments, and comments are almost always terrible. Like, sometimes I can just look at the pictures. But real quick, once more, use the promo code JJT at checkout for any No Judges Needed merch for 20% off. Let them know we sent you. It's really quality stuff. But Heather, thank you so much for coming back. We hope to have you on again the next time something catastrophic happens at a Submission Underground.
No, too soon.
Not too soon. Never again. But as always, I have been your host, Kevin Bradley, joined as always by my co-host, Mr. Kevin Gallagher. Thank you all. Go check out Submission Underground 17, and good night.